All right, today we're tearing down the marketing playbooks of three absolute titans in the Indian market. Now, each one has a totally unique way of winning. One builds a fortress with distribution, another uses data like a weapon, and the third, well, the third sells pure, undeniable desire. We're going to break down exactly how they do it. Let's get right into it. So this is the big question, isn't it? In a market with over 1 billion people, one of the most complex and crowded on the entire planet, how do you actually stand out and win? Well, we're going to see how three very, very different companies have figured out how to not just play the game, but to completely dominate it.
So who are we looking at? First up, we've got Nestle India, the global giant that's basically been a part of the Indian kitchen for like a century. Then there's Meesho, the digital disruptor that just exploded onto the scene, challenging the biggest names in e-commerce. And finally, Eicher Motors, the genius behind the cult icon that is Royal Enfield. Three companies, three wildly different ways to win.
To really understand how they pull it off, we have to start at the very beginning, with their core promise. It's never just about the product itself. So what are they really selling?
For Nestle, it all boils down to one word: trust. For generations, that good food, good life promise has stood for safety, for quality you can count on time and time again. They're not just selling you noodles or coffee, they're selling you peace of mind, rooted in this bigger mission of nutrition, health, and wellness.
Meesho's promise? It's on a completely different planet. Their slogan, Sahi Sahi Lagaya Hai, is something you'd hear in a bustling street market in India. It basically means, hey, you've quoted a fair price. It's a straight-up promise of affordability, opening up e-commerce for a huge group of people who are super conscious about value.
And then you have Royal Enfield. Their promise has absolutely nothing to do with price or health. Pure motorcycling. That's all about selling an experience. They're selling a feeling of heritage, of freedom, of adventure, of belonging to a tribe. They're not selling a way to get from A to B. They're selling you a whole new identity.
Okay, so with these really clear, really different promises, who are they actually talking to? Let's break down who they're targeting.
This slide just lays it out so clearly. You've got Nestle, the life cycle partner, right? They're with you from the very beginning, infants eating Cerelac, all the way to your golden years. Then there's Meesho, the voice of Bharat. That's the term for the vast heartland of India outside the big metro cities. They focus on where you live and what you earn. And Eicher? They target an attitude. They use psychographics, which is really just a fancy way of saying they target your lifestyle and values to find that explorer in all of us.
So, every powerhouse company has what's called a competitive moat. It's their unique defense, the thing that makes it incredibly difficult for anyone else to come in and steal their business. So what are the moats for these three mavericks?
As you can see, their defenses are just as different as their promises. Nestle has this impenetrable fortress built on distribution and trust. Meesho's moat is all about smart logistics and even smarter data. And Eicher's is pure emotion, a community that is fiercely, fiercely loyal.
Let's just try to make this number real for a second. 5.1 million. That's how many shops in India carry Nestle products. I mean, think about that scale. It's a physical moat so wide and so deep that a new online brand just doesn't stand a chance. If you want a Kit Kat, it's pretty much always right there. And then you have the brand equity side of the moat. A 96% market share. That's not really a market share, that's practically a monopoly. And it's built on decades and decades of trust, passed down through families. A new parent isn't going to take a chance on some unproven brand. In this category, trust isn't just important, it's everything. Meesho's defense is it's brilliant. It's built right into their business model. By not charging sellers a commission, they have a built-in price advantage. This isn't some flash sale. Their products are structurally, fundamentally, 15 to 20% cheaper. For giants like Amazon to match that, they'd have to completely gut their own profit models. It's a genius move. And Eicher, they build their moat out of memories and experiences. Events like the Himalayan Odyssey, this insane, grueling ride through some of the toughest terrain on Earth, and Rider Mania, which is basically a massive festival for owners, these things create something you can't buy, a tribe. This emotional bond turns customers into passionate advocates. A competitor can't break that with a slightly better engine. So, winning today is one thing. But staying on top, that's a whole other challenge. How are these companies making sure they're still winning tomorrow and the day after that? Let's look at how they're planning for the future. Nestle is playing this fascinating high-low game. On one hand, they're going deep into rural India with tiny 5 rupee packs to get people hooked.
At the exact same time, they're pushing super premium, high-margin products in the cities. And they're making big bets on brand new areas like pet care, where spending is just exploding.
Whoa, okay, look at this. Meesho has pulled off a massive pivot. For years, it was all about growth, 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 no matter the cost. But they have slammed on the brakes, slashing their losses by 82% in just 1 year. That is a huge signal that they are serious about building a real, sustainable business.
So how are they doing it? Well, they've built what you could call a profitability flywheel. First, they're taking their delivery network, which used to be a huge cost, and turning it into a business that actually makes money. Second, they're starting to charge sellers for ads. And third, they're bringing in branded goods with higher profit margins. It's a smart three-part strategy for long-term health.
Eicher is protecting its legacy by looking in two directions at once, outwards and forwards. They're taking that classic, pure motorcycling vibe global with bigger, more powerful bikes. And at the same time, they're leaning into the future with a brand new electric sub-brand called the Flying Flea, getting ready for a world beyond gasoline.
So after breaking down these three incredible but very different winners, what's the big lesson here? What's the secret sauce for dominating the market of tomorrow?
Well, it really seems to come down to this idea we're calling the 3D future of marketing. To win from now on, you're going to have to master 3 critical dimensions.
First, you've got data. That's Meesho's game, using tech to understand exactly what customers want, sometimes before they do. Second, distribution. That's Nestle's unbeatable fortress, being physically present everywhere. And finally, desire. That's the powerful emotional connection that Royal Enfield has mastered, turning mere customers into true believers. And that really brings us to our final question. In a world that's becoming more and more about data and algorithms, what's ultimately going to win? The cold, hard efficiency of the perfect algorithm, or that messy, unpredictable, but incredibly powerful thing we call human emotion? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.